we're making a single, cohesive, friendly, trustworthy, and professional-looking calling card. So one of the common thing that's been coming up in the design process, and has come up over the years, is determining what to put on the wrap. And I've gone through the cheat sheet and the tips and that sort of thing. This gets more into what colors, what kind of all of that kind of stuff. What constitutes design. And a lot of times people believe that what needs to happen is the wrap needs to be eye-catching. And in order to be eye-catching, there needs to be lots of bright colors and lots of things to look at. Waves, like a swoosh thing, and or a gradient, or dots, or all kinds of. It needs to be jam-packed with action, or people are never going to look at it. And I think it's a big mistake, because initially, they're going to look at it, and when they don't understand what they're looking at, they're immediately going to look away. When there's too much going on, too many different elements, and it's not all cohesive, and that the threshold for being too much is actually very low. So what you want to do is have your logo, as I've said before, the logo needs to be the centerpiece of this whole thing. Everything revolves around the logo, and there shouldn't be anything else. Possibly a mascot, but the mascot needs to be related to the logo. You can't have let's say your logo is blue lettering with a green box, and then you have like a clip art character with a toolbox, and he's just not related to that. Like, if you were going to create the character in that situation, maybe the character would be the green box with feet and hands and a face or something like that. But the repetition needs to be there, not another third dimension or whatever. You can think of it in terms of, say, a movie where you've got like the initial action, the plot that needs to be resolved, and then the resolution. But what if in the middle of it you introduce a whole new lead character and a totally different story, and it's like goes from being like that old classic movie, Kentucky Fried Movie, which in the very middle of it the whole thing turns into a kung fu movie for 30 minutes. It's got nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It's funny and makes for great humor, but that's a bad idea for marketing. Let's say for music, like sometimes music is more art and more subjective, so musicians tend to write music that they just feel like listening to. But let's say you're trying to write a catchy pop song for a movie, and it starts out with a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus, and then you're like, oh, and then here's another song with a different vocalist in the middle, and it ends, and you're like, aren't those two different songs, or what's going on here? It would be real hard to follow, and a different beat and everything, so people are in the middle of their groove, and all of a sudden they don't know what to do. They will stop dancing is what will happen, and they'll stop looking at your rap, and they'll stop watching your non sequitur movie. If you want your rap to be avant-garde and put in a art gallery for how interesting it is, go ahead and let your wildest, craziest ideas go wild on that. But most raps are out there to generate interest, generate brand recognition, and you're not going to do that by having a sort of a buffet of unrelated, taglines, bullet points, $49, $59, $69 deals, pictures of different products, a picture of your dog, a picture of your grandma, a picture of Arizona or New York or Chicago, whatever. just it's not an American quilt we're making here. We're making a single, cohesive, friendly, trustworthy, and professional-looking calling card. And you really only need to look to billboards for a good idea of what to do. There's a billboard right there. It was a little bit hard to understand, but at least we understood that Sprouts has an organic sale. Sprouts is the place to go for organic food. They don't have, 4 different things on there like bananas 69 cents a pound, because maybe they're not next week, and you go in there and you're disappointed. Or if all you see is all of those specials, then you're not going to have time to see who has the specials, and that might remind you, hey, oh yeah, I need bananas. I'm going to go to my regular grocery store, right? Whereas what they're hoping you do is Sprouts. When you think of organic, you think of going to Sprouts. If you're, especially in the new year here now, there might be a lot of people going to the gym with their New Year's resolution to eat more healthy, maybe eat more organic. I'm seeing a lot more advertising about organic here in January. You could also go to Whole Foods. They would be the same thing, Whole Foods organic. But again, you wouldn't have the sale items or anything like that on a billboard. There's another one there. Although the payway is a little bit too small, they're advertising one thing: healthy food, cauliflower rice. Not the entire menu, not even 2 things on the menu. They're advertising one thing on the menu. Large and in charge. There's the fitness right now. Billboards, like, it's just crazy. But they have maybe their plan, the basic entry plan, and that's it. They don't have, like, we have 900 weightlifting machines, a pool, a sauna. Like, you're not going to read all that. There's a lawyer, the discount accident lawyer. It's simple, right? What kind of accident? Like, is it a WCB claim, a slip and fall, a car accident? He doesn't need to get into the details. You just need to know he's the discount guy. Simple branding.
So that you can get the call, right?
Now, unfortunately, I don't know what that is. I really don't. I don't know. There's a huge phone number and a person, and I don't know why I should be calling that.
Yeah.
So again, that's the exact same principle for a wrap. You should not have a giant phone number, unless your business name is your phone number. I believe there's a heating cooling company out there. It took me a little while to get it, but it was 1-800 something or other, and I kept going, I wonder what their company name is, and it turned out that that's what their name is, 1-800 whatever. So
how do people know what the right information is to put on the wrap? Because you said it's like not a lot of information.
well, the right information is obviously your logo. If you have a good tagline, or if your business it's not easily understood for example, Smartwrap. The general public maybe thinks that we're those body wraps, or like the shrink wraps for boats, or something like that. So very early on, we added vehicle wraps and designs that work. So you do have to have a little bit on there if your name isn't exactly explaining what you do. Point of contacts, that's great. They need to be small enough or big enough that you can read them when you're next to them, but when you're real far away, that's not what you should be seeing. You should be seeing, understanding, and being able to remember the logo. and just very briefly get a feeling of, okay, that looks like an established company. They look like they look legit. That's it. We don't need we really don't need the circus. That's what a lot of stuff, for lack of a better way of describing it, is. It looks like the circus is showing up at your house. They're not going to be real helpful when you're coming in as a contractor, as a service provider. Most of the time you're in a 3, 4, 5 bid situation. Everybody compares price. They look at your vehicle. They look at whether you're dressed in a uniform. And if you show up in either a old beat up van or in a bizarre looking wrap, and you're the same price as other people that they feel look more professional, I don't think you're going to have a very good chance. They're going to expect you to be cheap because it actually looks like you don't know what you're doing, and you know enough to do the job, but you don't know enough to price it right, so they're looking to take advantage of that. Either that, or they're going to look at you and go, okay, well, can you do any better? Because they don't see the value. They don't see your brand lining up with the price. So if you're a contractor and a person that provides services to people in their homes, or even to commercial clients, then you come across a fair amount of situations where when you give a price, people just about fall out of their seat, and it's not out of line with the industry. Then I would suggest it's because there's a disconnect between how they feel about you and your brand and what they think you should cost based on how you look and what you do cost. If you have people going, wow, that's a great deal, then to me that says they think your brand looks more expensive than it is, which is that's a good situation to be in. When somebody says, wow, actually that's a pretty good deal, that's a totally different sales scenario than no, I don't know why is it so, why are you so expensive, or that doesn't, can you do any better, or that kind of thing. I mean, there's obviously other factors that go into that, but the first one I would look at is, okay, do I look like, if I'm charging mid to premium pricing, do I look like that kind of a company? Do I look like the other companies that charge, or do I look better? And that's kind of subjective. What do I look better? The objective part would be, do I look better? Do I have clean uniforms? Is my logo easy to understand and look professional? Does it look like a national brand? Are the vehicles clean? Is the wrap faded and cracked and turning black and damaged? Do I have all the hubcaps on my vehicle? You'd be surprised at how many contractors show up and 2 or 3 of the hubcaps are missing. Either take them all off and paint the thing. I'd just make sure you always have hubcaps. It just doesn't look good. Are the people who show up friendly? If they might be surprised that you're so friendly, given that the vehicle doesn't look friendly. They might be surprised that the person who showed up wasn't very friendly, given that the fact that there was a nice superhero Jetsons type character on the thing, and who shows up is definitely not that. So it really needs to be connected. And the whole thing about putting what to me sounds like random stuff. It's throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if it sticks. That kind of stuff is not for vehicle wraps. It's not exactly for billboards. There's not a real-time way to test the results in that. if you want to do, let's throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, then try Facebook and Instagram. You'll be able to tell in real time what's working or not. But that's not a vehicle wrap is not a good way to do that. That's a good way to establish brand. And what does brand mean? It means, what do people think and feel about you? What is your reputation based on how you look? If you want to see whether this now, based on how you look, you might actually get a lot of sales out of it. We have a client who got wrapped just 2 weeks ago, and he came in and talked to us and said he got six jobs off directly from the wrap. And nowhere on that wrap does it say call now, or a picture of an air conditioner, or a special, or anything like that. It's only his logo and a background design which is taken directly out of the logo, so you've got that backup repetition. There's no random things that are not from his logo, and it's got a couple points of contact that are actually quite small. So I'd be interested to know. I think I'll go and contact him and say, how did they get a hold of you? Did they phone? And then when they did phone, how did they get that number? Did they see it on the vehicle, or did they Google it? My guess is that they Googled it, because they were able to remember the name. But 6 jobs. That doesn't only just pay for the wrap, it pays for a bunch of new vehicles in 2 weeks. Yeah. This gentleman was very, he had some ideas, and as best as I could, I steered him in a completely different direction. And the result is 6 wraps. We don't always get people that I don't know if they just don't believe me. I know I do it when I go out. I think I know, so I got to be careful. But trust the experts who might have done it a few times.